So, one of the first brands that I want to talk about is the Louis Vuitton brand. Louis Vuitton brand is a luxury lifestyle brand that actually started back in 1854. 1854 by a gentleman named Louis Vuitton Molitaire. Louis Vuitton Molitaire. I try to get these French names right. But he started with an idea, and his idea was to make steamer trunks that were flat so they could be stacked. During this time, back in the mid to late 1800s, they were making steamer trunks, but they were not shaped in a way that they could be stacked. So Louis Vuitton came up with the idea that he was going to create these flat steamer trunks. And that idea is what put Louis Vuitton really in the purview or in front of the right people, the aristocrats, the wealthy people who were traveling by train, and they needed a way to pack their clothes. So, hence, Louis Vuitton, the brand, was birthed. Louis Vuitton, as a brand, went on to become a luxury lifestyle brand. They make all types of accessories and leather items, and which is one of the reasons why the luggage part of their brand is so prominent and quite distinct, because they were known as a brand to the aristocrats for travel. For travel. Mind you, all the way back in the 1800s. Here we are in 2014, and the Louis Vuitton brand is just as strong as ever. Very big brand with the celebrities. So that's just a little bit of story, a little bit on the Louis Vuitton brand. The next thing I want to talk about, or the next brand I want to talk about, this brand was started by a woman named Gabrielle. Gabrielle, grew up in France, and she was a seamstress. She was a cabaret singer. She was a millinery designer. She designed hats. She designed these hats for, polite society, if you will. And then she went on in about the early 1920s to open her own boutique. She opened a boutique in France. It was a fashion boutique where she started to sell items, and then she later went on to become Coco Chanel. Here we are, 2014. Coco Chanel opened her first fashion boutique in Paris in 1921. 1921. You imagine that. Here we are, still celebrating, honoring, and wearing the Coco Chanel brand, the perfumes, the clothing. And she has a very interesting story. There's a whole lot in between her being Gabrielle and becoming Coco Chanel and creating one of the most sophisticated brands in the world for women and fashion. Then we have Mr. Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren actually started, he started as Mr. Ralph Lifshitz. Ralph Lifshitz started as a worker at Brooks Brothers. He was a salesman at Brooks Brothers and decided that he was going to leave and go and become a tie salesman. So he left Brooks Brothers and went to become a tie salesman. Well, in being a tie salesman, he got this idea that he was going to make a more stylish European type tie. And I believe it was, kind of a wider neck tie, went against what was happening in the market for menswear in terms of ties. Wasn't the Brooks Brothers style, the Joseph A. Banks style. This was this new European thing that he was bringing to the United States at this time, which was, I believe, around, the 60s. So He goes on to create this tie. It's turned down. He's told that, this type of tie would not make it in the commercial world. It doesn't have any viability from a commercial standpoint. But Mr. Lifshitz did not let that stop him. He decided that he was going to venture out and make these ties. It's been said he made the ties out of rags. He sold the ties out of a drawer in the Empire State Building in New York City, and caught the eyes of some investors. Then he received his first order of 100 of these fabulous European-style neckties from a luxury department store. Mr. Lifshitz went on to create the Polo Ralph Lauren brand, one of the most celebrated, recognized, fine living American brands in the world. American because it was started in the United States, but it's gone on to be a symbol of style and sophistication for the world's elite. As of this month, the Polo Ralph Lauren brand and Mr. Lauren are worth $7 billion. That's the $7 billion idea. That's the idea that I want to help you build and cultivate. It's an idea that can put money in the bank for you. It's an idea that can help you live the life and the lifestyle that you dream about. It's the idea that can help you help others. It's the idea that you can use to catapult your brand and your message. It's the idea that can elevate your income in a way that you can help change and impact the lives of others, that you can become a philanthropist, that you can extend the legacy of your message. It's the $7 billion idea. And I really, really like this. And I said I was going to, kind of create something around it, because to take something as a concept in your head that you see and you're inspired from something you see, and you add your own. He took it, he saw it somewhere. I believe he saw one of the famous actors with this tie on that he probably had gotten in Europe. And he took this idea and said, I'm going to move that idea forward here. And even though he met adversity and he met people that didn't agree with him, he did not let that deter him. He did not let that stop him. He said, I'm going to push this forward anyway. And it turned into a luxury lifestyle brand that today is worth $7 billion. What's your $7 billion idea? What's the idea that you have that you've been sitting on, that you haven't done anything with, or you've been dilly-dallying with and playing around with, but you haven't stepped up and into it fully? What's your $7 billion idea? What idea has the power to turn your brand into a household name? I'm sure when Mr. Lifshitz first started, he had some other milestone goals along the way. But ultimately, he wanted to make a difference in the lives of his market. He wanted to make the people in his market, his wealthy, prestigious type people, he wanted them to have this distinction of having this European style tie that when they showed up at events in the US, people would be like, where did you get that tie? Men would be like, well, where did you get that? That's fancy, and you set the tone. What's your $1 billion idea that can help set your brand on fire?